Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Emily Haller at Sibos 2015 and I'm joined by Siew Kien Sia of Nanyang Business School. Thank you very much for joining me.
Welcome.
So what's driving the cross-border stock market links in Asia?
Yeah, well, it's really a combination of factors. Amidst the economic slowdown and the tapering of stimulus by the US, stock exchanges in the region are looking for the new opportunities to grow. But yet, their ability to expand are limited by the size of their internal markets. At the same time, growth strategy through merger and acquisition yield limited success. So for example, Singapore Exchange's attempt to acquire Australia Stock Exchange failed. So in terms of, so cross-border market link-up is really a more feasible strategy for them to grow. The primary motivation is to increase the depth and the breadth of the stock markets for these countries, essentially to draw in more capital into the markets, to improve the liquidity, to generate volume. So for example, for ASEAN exchanges, for example, a lot of what they do is that they are trying to stay relevant. So the market link-up of ASEAN exchanges is for them to stay relevant in coping with the competition in Asia and in the world.
Is there more than one operating model that can achieve these links?
Yes, there are various ways of structuring this market linked up. The number of countries involved may be different. The extent of integration may also be different. Most of them are bilateral in nature. Some of them are more complicated, like the ASEAN exchanges. Then what we also have is that some of this linked up, the operating model for this linked up are different. Some of them are more tightly integrated, yet others are loosely integrated. Tight in the sense that this market agreed to harmonize their rules, their policy, their practices, and adopt a common unified system. Loose in the sense that each country retain its own operating policies, operating rules and practices, but they agree, but they establish some interoperable arrangements and system interfaces to be connected together. So as in the case of Asia, what we see is that we see a lot more of the looser form of integration. So for example, in the case of ASEAN exchanges, we observe the inter-broker model where the originating brokers still need to have a corresponding sponsoring brokers to execute the trade. Yeah? Then we also see other models such as what we call the special purpose vehicle model, or what we call the SPV model, where the exchanges set up, where both the exchanges set up their separate exchange entities to facilitate the linked up. So the originating broker no longer need to have a corresponding sponsoring brokers. Orders are channeled through the local exchange SPV, which then correspond with the foreign exchange SPVs to execute the trade. So the connection is no longer at the inter-broker level, but it is at the inter-SPV level. Okay, this is the model that is used by the Singapore-Australian link-up. As in the case of Hong Kong and Shanghai link-up, they adopt an even more direct version of the inter-SPV model as they take away one of the SPV in the process. So in this case, both the exchanges set up their SPV not in their own jurisdiction, but in the jurisdiction of the other countries. Okay? However, this model requires some cross-membership arrangement in clearing and settlement. So as you can see, there is no one optimal operating model. There will be cost and benefit trade-off. There are various issues, not just on trade, but also on pre-trade and post-trade that need to be negotiated and agreed upon. So the whole process could actually take months or years.
And what are the success factors of cross-border stock market links in the region then?
For Asia is very diverse economically, culturally and politically. So for cross-border market link-up to be successful, these institutional disparities have to be identified, have to be bridged, or at least cater to. So these institutional differences include regulatory rules, include differences in industry norm, as well as differences in the people's mindsets for this. So it's not just a matter of linking up the market and expect it to thrive. Okay, lots needs to be done, right? So lots need to be done in the area of, like, let's say, in influencing or lobbying with the higher authority for rules, regulatory harmonization, or mutual recognition framework, or even to establish new legislation. At the same time, you also need to socialize the various stakeholders, such as the regulator, policymakers, the institutional investor, brokers, such that they will to encourage the diffusion, the sharing of best practices, to exert some peer pressure for them to raise the professional standard as well as the industry benchmark. And more importantly, I think this is also one point that's often missed out, is that there is also a need to change or reshape people's mindset. Okay, people in ASEAN are still largely saving focused rather than investment focused. People's in ASEAN, have difficulty recognizing investable company in ASEAN. So there is a need for you to sell the cross-border market linked up idea. There's a need for you to tell success story. There's a need to raise awareness and visibility, to also ensure that people know about it. So it is. It's not just so you need to create the demand. You need to consciously create the demand, and not just assume that once the infrastructure is set up, the traffic will just flow. The investment traffic will just flow.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching.